So I'm looking at this post by the GovCon giants, and basically what they're saying is that most of the government contracts are not listed on sam.gov, and that they are shaped before they ever hit sam.gov. You can ever walk into a building, you can win without bidding. So while I think that most of that is true, I just don't know that that's an effective way of doing business, right? Like, who's really winning from this? Is the government winning from this? Is the industry winning from this? How do you, as let's say someone who just started, how do you, as someone who, right, you can't walk into the building, like it says, you may not have those relationships. How do you then place yourself to win some of this contract strategically? Is that really a fair competitive advantage? Obviously, in every industry, there's going to be a competitive advantage. If you have the experience already, if you've been there before, you have some of the relationships, there's going to be a competitive advantage. That's okay. That's part of business. That's part of sports. It's part of life in general. But what I don't necessarily think is right, I don't like it, I don't agree with it, the fact that contracts and work is already shaped before it even hits sam.gov. And then what this post is saying is that 95% of government contracts are not even on sam.gov. How's that fairly marketed? How's that even a competitive advantage? That's just a cheat code, which, again, hacks and cheat codes happen all the time, but there's got to be certain, I think, limits to it. If you're telling me that 95% of contracts are not on sam.gov, you're telling me that I, as a small business owner who's just starting out, can only go after 5% of what's out there, because 95% is already won by somebody else. All based on what? Relationships? That's it? Not skills? Like it says, if you can walk in the building, you can win without bidding. You're telling me that if somehow I can have access to the building, whether it's through your CAT card with clearances, or whether it's because you live nearby, whether it's because your cousin works there and you're visiting, and you just walk in, knock on the door of the contracting officer or the person in charge of a certain contract, shake their hand, you tell them you're a business owner, you'd like to win this contract, you can win the contract? I don't know that that's how it works, right? I don't think so. I'm not brand new to the GovCon world, and I've seen how contracts are shaped, so I get that piece of it. But the number that this post is throwing out, 95%, is that really true? I'm not disputing it, so I'm not saying you're wrong, but I am saying, is it right? Like, do we want it that way? Of course, that are already in, they want it that way, right? Cool. But then you're telling me that you're creating a monopoly over the market, and industry has no chance at getting in unless you're already in. But how do you get in? And so I think that perhaps that's something that needs to be looked at more carefully, opening it up to be more competitive, so that companies that are qualified have a chance. They at least have an opportunity, right? Even if they haven't responded to a source of sought notice for whatever reason, they haven't seen it, they don't know that it's there. Whatever reason may be that they haven't responded to that source of sought notice, so they haven't had the opportunity to quote unquote shape the contract before it hits the street. Let's give them a chance too, because everyone says once the proposal hits the street, it's already shaped one way or another. That shit ain't fair. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how business should work. Again, the caveat is there are certain circumstances and certain situations where competitive advantage is going to be a little bit unfair, and you're going to have to just deal with the fact that there are companies out there that may already have that relationship, and they're going to get in whether you're more qualified or not. A small percentage, that should be. But this post is telling me that that's the majority. Government's got it backwards if that's the case. You need to flip that around and change the way you approach it and do business. That's not the way it ought to be. Proposals, if a proposal hits the street on day one, if it goes to sam.gov on January 1st, you As a small business owner, as someone who's never been in that agency before, you should have a chance at it. You really should. No matter how. Like, it doesn't matter if you go in as a sub, as a prime. Like, you should have a competitive, fair chance to compete after this work if you're qualified enough. If you don't get it because your qualifications didn't meet the requirements, then so be it. Go after the next one. But if you don't get it because it's already been shaped toward one or two other companies so that they can compete at it, so it's not open then. It's not fair and open. It's not an open competition. It really isn't. They may call it that, but it's not. So change the way that things are being done, because it's not fair and open, as they call it. It's not fair and open. Even if you do a set aside, A or veteran owned, women owned, it's not fair and open competition, because you're essentially just saying you need to come to us, build a relationship, and then we can consider you. If we've never heard from you, we've never heard of you, then you're basically out. In my point of view, that's just not a fair way to do it. If you don't get a chance to respond to the sources sought notice, which oftentimes even when you respond to a sources sought notice and you try to shape, right, the work, the contract, by having a little bit of influence, providing your suggestions, your recommendations based upon your skills and your knowledge and your background, oftentimes sources sought notice go into the black hole and you never hear from them again. Even if you do everything you're supposed to do, like a lot of industry experts out there tell you to do, follow up, send an email, call, attend events, and you've done that and you still hear crickets from the other side. Why? Because I think even sometimes when the sources sought notice come out, these agencies already have relationships with certain industry partners that, and they don't want to open up their mind or expand out and see what else is out there, because this is how we've done it forever and ever. This is how we've done it for years now. And so why change? There's something wrong with the way it's done right there. And it needs to change. It needs to change. It needs to be more fair and open. There are a lot of qualified small businesses out there who just don't have a chance. They don't stand a chance no matter what they do, no matter if they follow what the industry experts are saying out there. Again, follow up, send your emails, call, send your capability statements. That's the process that this GovCon world works through. I'm not saying it doesn't work 100% of the time. It's probably half or a little bit more than half of the time it's going to work. It ought to change in terms of this whole, everybody says it's already shaped toward one company or another company, or maybe like two companies, so that they can compete. And then the 5 other proposals that are being submitted don't mean anything because it's already been shaped toward 1 or 2. Like, I fucking hate that. I hate hearing that when it says the proposal hits the street, it's too late for you. It's already been shaped. Then why the fuck why does the proposal hit the street then? Why is it even called a proposal? Why is it even called an RFP, a request for a proposal? A request for a quote, an RFQ. Why is it even called that? If it's already been shaped toward one company most of the times, sometimes 2, why is it even called that? You're opening it to other companies to submit, so that they're wasting their time. And I get it. You got to do the work. You got to put in the work as a company. You got to try to shape the contract a little bit. But not everyone has that opportunity, right? Getting in the government's not easy. Right, penetrating that market is not easy. It's not like calling the secretary a privately owned company, or you can't just walk into the building. I can just walk into any company privately owned, but I can't walk into a government building and try to build that relationship. Experience does matter. I get it. You gotta have previous experience, and maybe being in there does help. But what if you're qualified, but you just haven't been in there before? You haven't been in the government before. You haven't had those relationships, but you are technically qualified, whatever it may be, construction, IT, consulting services, anything. You have the qualifications, you've just never been in there. You're pretty much out of the game, unless you get lucky with 1 hit or 2 hits here and there. It's not the way it should work. Like, once the proposal hits the streets, it's too late for you. I fucking hate hearing that when people say that. And even though it may be true, it shouldn't be. Right? We shouldn't accept that as industry. We shouldn't accept that, whether you're already in and you have those relationships, or whether you're new and you don't have those relationships. You shouldn't accept that. You should want open competition, open and fair competition. You should want to be able to have the opportunity to compete for a contract. I'm not saying you should have the same opportunity, or you could like compete with like a Booz Allen or a Lockheed Martin for a missile defense system program that they have specific experience in. And then you're a very small, brand new company, like you have no business going after that work. Unless you're a former engineer who worked on one of those programs and you have a certain advantage, then yeah, right? But anything else, like any other type of work, you should be able to fairly compete for it. And the government should be able to allocate the time to allow for open competition. Not just, it's already shaped. Let's release this RFP, but we know that company Z is going to get it because we've already spoken with company Z. And company D, RF, we have no clue who they are. Not even going to look at their proposal because we've already spoken to company Z. And so they're already getting it. So this whole shaping the contract before it hits the street, why? Government's losing out potentially on somebody that could do the work a little better. They may have better suggestions, better recommendations on how to improve. They may be better technically at it, but they haven't had the opportunity to hit you up. Or maybe they've tried to hit you up, but you never responded to them. You never got back to them because why? You've already spoken with company Z. But company D has a better technical background. They have better recommendations on what to implement for this particular program that could improve it in the next 5 years versus company Z, who you've known and you've talked to for a while. They're doing it the way it's always been done, and they're not really even thinking about 5 years from now. Just an example. Could happen, it does happen, where government misses out on certain industry partners because they've already spoken to company Z. So screw company D. That has to change. That's got to change. So this whole, the proposal hits the street, it's too late. Can't do anything about it. Then how the fuck am I supposed to get in the door? Respond to like 30 sources sought notices per month? Send follow-up emails, calls, text messages, write letters to 30 plus contracting officers for each sources sought with the hopes that one of them will get back to me? They're not even going to read my email. So sometimes it does work, absolutely. Not saying it doesn't work all the time, but generally speaking, that whole, it's already been shaped and you have no chance once it hits the street, the proposal, forget about it. You can't even submit a response to that RFP or that RFQ because it's already been shaped. Let's change the way we do that.